Good morning. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Heather Anderson, and I am a regular Welcome Table volunteer who actually is not a member of the Falls Church Presbyterian Church congregation. You may not realize this, but there actually are several of us who have a chance to be part of this community, who come regularly and participate in doing God's work, serving others in our community, serving our neighbors as a result of this ministry. And that's a really wonderful outreach that you are providing with this program, in addition to the wonderful outreach that you might otherwise think of. I have been volunteering with Welcome Table for 11 years now, since it first started, and I have a lot to say, of course, but what I want to talk to you about specifically is my experience with God's abundance that I have particularly appreciated and noticed over the last 2 years in connection with this program. So for several years prior to the pandemic, we had been regularly serving about 100 people on the first Wednesday of each month, and about 300 to 350 people on the third Wednesday, which is the meal where we also distributed the $10 grocery gift cards along with our dinners. And we used to say and believe, we used to really believe that, that 350 that we had been hitting on the third Wednesday, that was really the most we could possibly handle. That just given the facility, the one oven that we have here, and so I'm speaking to you from the kitchen, the oven and the equipment that we had, and the amount of time that it takes to chop the vegetables for that many people. That really we were at our maximum, and we would not be able to handle a bigger crowd than that. And then, of course, the pandemic hit. And, of course, we immediately had a big problem, because we were very quickly seeing many more people than we had thought we could possibly handle. Prior to that, it was 400, and then it went to 500, and then that curve just kind of kept going up. And finally peaked, and so for several months there we were serving almost 700 people at both meals every month. So that was huge. And how in the world were we going to handle that? Well, what we did, I think, is actually experience God saying, "With me all things are possible," and then following through on that promise and just showing us the way through how to do it. John Lloyd went to the restaurant supply store and came back with these beauties, the baking pans that are about twice as deep as the ones we used to use, and all of a sudden we could serve twice as much food, or prepare twice as much food as we used to be able to in about the same amount of time. Victoria Lippincott showed up with one of my favorites, this bit of magic. Pre-chopped, pre-sliced peppers and onions. So all of a sudden, that onion chopping for 700 people or 350 people was going a whole lot faster than it used to. Several of our head chef volunteers somehow didn't just run away screaming when they were told that, next week you're preparing for 650 people instead of 350. And on the expense side, month after month, week after week, the Mercy Ministry just kept reporting that thanks to the incredibly generous donations from you all, once again, we could still continue distributing those $10 gift cards that are just so appreciated by our guests. And keep in mind, and this was, we were doing 1,300 of those a month during the peak of that pandemic, so it was a huge, huge ministry, a huge commitment. So anyway, for that 350 that we thought was our limit, it clearly was not God's limit. And when we started trusting that and working with that, I don't know what God's limit is for this ministry, but I can tell you that we did not hit it. It's somewhere above 700, if there is one. So over the past 6 months, the number of guests we are seeing at each dinner has begun to come back down, although we are still serving about 500 people, a little more than 500 on the third Wednesdays. So it's still a tremendous effort. And I just want to thank you thank you so much for your generous support, continuing support of the Welcome Table Ministry, and for allowing me to be a part of it. Thank you.